Clarity Clinical Solutions.
Once a clinical trial is underway and sites begin enrolling patients, the work is far from over. Interim monitoring is the continuous oversight that ensures data integrity, patient safety, and regulatory compliance from the first enrolled subject to the last data point. This phase represents the longest and most resource-intensive period of any clinical trial, spanning months or even years of active site activity. In this module, we explore the core components of interim monitoring, routine and targeted monitoring visits, centralized data review, risk-based monitoring strategies, and the critical role of communication between monitors, sites, and the broader study team. Interim monitoring is the ongoing process of verifying that clinical trial activities at investigative sites are conducted in accordance with the protocol, good clinical practice, and applicable regulations. Its purposes are fourfold: protect the rights and well-being of human subjects, ensure the accuracy and completeness of trial data, verify that investigational products are properly managed, and detect and correct problems early before they compound. Without effective interim monitoring, small errors at individual sites can cascade into systemic data quality issues, safety reporting failures, and ultimately, regulatory rejection of the study results. The routine monitoring visit is the core activity of interim monitoring. During these regularly scheduled on-site or remote visits, the CRA performs source data verification on newly enrolled subjects, reviews regulatory document updates, checks informed consent forms for completeness, verifies adverse event documentation, conducts drug accountability, and reviews protocol compliance. The frequency of visits varies based on enrollment rate, study complexity, and site risk classification. A high-enrolling site in a complex Phase 3 study may be visited every 2 to 4 weeks, while a low-enrolling site might be seen every 8 to 12 weeks. Risk-based monitoring transforms interim monitoring from a one-size-fits-all approach to a targeted, data-driven strategy. Under RBM, sponsors assess each site's risk profile based on factors like enrollment velocity, data query rates, protocol deviation frequency, and staff turnover. Higher-risk sites receive more intensive monitoring, more frequent visits, broader SDV scope, and additional management attention. Lower-risk sites may be monitored with reduced frequency and targeted SDV focused on critical data points. Centralized monitoring complements this by using statistical tools to detect unusual data patterns across all sites in near real time, enabling early intervention. Centralized monitoring is performed remotely by data managers and clinical scientists who review aggregate trial data for trends, outliers, and anomalies. Using statistical process control charts, they can identify sites with unexpectedly high or low adverse event rates, unusual demographic distributions that may indicate enrollment bias, or suspicious data patterns that suggest fabrication or systematic error. Centralized monitoring provides a cross-site perspective that on-site monitors cannot see, and it can trigger targeted visits to investigate specific concerns. Regulatory authorities now expect sponsors to implement some form of centralized monitoring as part of their risk-based approach. During interim monitoring, the CRA determines which source documents to verify and to what extent. Under traditional approaches, 100% SDV was standard. Under risk-based monitoring, the strategy is more nuanced. Critical data points like primary and secondary endpoints, key safety assessments, and eligibility criteria are verified for every subject, while less critical data points may be reviewed on a sampling basis. The source data verification plan established before the study begins defines these parameters. CRAs must also verify corrections to previously identified discrepancies and look for systemic issues that could affect data quality across multiple subjects. Protocol deviations are inevitable in clinical research, but effective interim monitoring keeps them within acceptable limits. The CRA reviews subject records to identify deviations from the protocol, missed visits, out-of-window procedures, prohibited medications, incorrect dosing, and ensures they are properly documented and reported. The CRA classifies deviations as minor or major, assesses whether the deviation affects subject safety or data integrity, and works with the site to implement corrective actions. Trending analyses help identify if deviations cluster around specific procedures, specific staff members, or specific times, enabling targeted retraining or process improvements. Interim monitoring includes continuous review of safety data as it accumulates. The CRA reviews newly reported adverse events for completeness and accuracy, verifies that serious adverse events were reported within required timelines, and checks that the site has informed the IRB of all safety events as required. The CRA also looks for emerging safety signals that may indicate a previously unrecognized risk. If the study has a data safety monitoring board, interim monitoring supports their work by ensuring that safety data submitted for DSMB reviews is accurate and complete. Safety oversight is not confined to scheduled visits, it is a continuous responsibility. Throughout the active trial period, the CRA verifies investigational product accountability at each monitoring visit. This includes checking that receipt and dispensing logs are current and accurate, that storage temperatures have remained within specified ranges with documented excursions and corrective actions, that blinded product has not been compromised, and that used, expired, or returned product is properly segregated and tracked. Reconciliation between product dispensed, product returned, and product destroyed must remain balanced. Discrepancies must be investigated and resolved promptly, as drug accountability is one of the most closely scrutinized areas during regulatory inspections. The investigator site file is a living document that requires continuous maintenance throughout the study. During interim monitoring visits, the CRA reviews the ISF to ensure it contains current versions of all required documents, signed protocol amendments, updated investigator brochures, current IRB approvals and approved consent forms, updated financial disclosure forms, and current curricula vitae for all staff. The CRA verifies that expired documents are archived and replaced. A well-maintained ISF is the hallmark of a well-run site and is the first place inspectors look during a regulatory audit. Neglecting the ISF during interim monitoring invites inspection findings. When interim monitoring identifies performance problems, persistently high query rates, repeated protocol deviations, slow enrollment, or staff turnover, the CRA works with the site to implement corrective and preventive actions. CAPAs may include retraining, revised workflows, additional staffing, or modified delegation of responsibilities. The CRA documents each issue and its resolution, then follows up at subsequent visits to verify that corrective actions are sustained. For sites with chronic underperformance that does not respond to intervention, the sponsor may need to consider more drastic measures, including site termination, which we will cover in the module on site closeout. Every monitoring visit generates a formal visit report, typically due within 5 to 10 business days. The report documents the date and scope of the visit, subjects reviewed, data findings, regulatory document updates, drug accountability results, protocol deviations identified, and any issues requiring follow-up. The report includes a summary assessment of site compliance and an action plan for items to be addressed before the next visit. Visit reports become part of the trial master file and may be reviewed during regulatory inspections. A well-written report is factual, specific, and provides a clear picture of site performance over time. Technology is transforming how interim monitoring is conducted. Electronic source data allows monitors to access medical records remotely, reducing on-site time. Remote monitoring, performing SDV and regulatory review through secure portals and video calls, became routine during the pandemic and remains a powerful tool for low-risk sites and routine visits. Artificial intelligence and machine learning tools are emerging for predictive risk scoring, automated query generation, and detecting data anomalies that human monitors might miss. These technologies do not replace the CRA but enable them to focus their expertise where it adds the most value. Interim monitoring is the sustained operational heartbeat of clinical research, maintaining quality, safety, and compliance through the many months or years of active enrollment and follow-up. Key components include routine and targeted monitoring visits, centralized data oversight, risk-based monitoring strategies, continuous safety surveillance, regulatory document maintenance, and proactive management of performance issues. The principles that guide successful interim monitoring are consistency, documentation, communication, and early intervention. Sites that engage positively with the interim monitoring process produce cleaner data, fewer deviations, and stronger inspection outcomes, ultimately contributing to more reliable trial results and faster paths to patient access.